All right, Hardy owners. Today, before we get to our incredible guest, Mandi Nelson, this episode is brought to you by alltradescover.com.au. All Trades Cover, one of our guests and our sponsors. He's an absolute legend. If you have a big business, small business, based in trades, especially if you're the little guy, they love looking after you. So get over to them. They're going to be able to cover you for, I'm not going to give an example legally, but they can cover you even if you have some sort of trade insurance, maybe just reach out to them, see if they can compete. The more people we can throw their way, the better for us. So that's that's a way that you can help support the podcast by joining in with them, because they're basically going to throw whatever money they earn back at us. So thank you so much to All Trades Cover for your support. This episode is also brought to you by Kahuna Golf. Look good, feel good, play good. If you want to have a bit of hit on the course and you want to look good, maybe if you're not Delby, you won't play well, but you'll definitely feel good. And they've got the hats, they've got the shirts, shorts, you've got your golf rags. It's bright floral colours. Generally, they do have a couple of neutral sort of black ones, but fuck it. Get amongst it and be alive and have some fun with some bright colours in your life. They have a discount code. They've changed it to Hard Yarn. So all of our discount codes are Hard Yarn now, but 15% off for Kahuna Golf. This episode's also brought to you by Goat Tape. Goat Tape, it's great for your breath work. It's great for running and exercise, good for sleeping. I woke up with a bit of a headache the other morning, actually, Mandi. I don't know why. I wasn't hungover. I hadn't been drinking and maybe potentially wasn't breathing correctly. So I put my Goat Tape back on the next morning and I woke up so refreshed. And I guess that's probably the difference, is the refreshment, the actual good quality sleep by getting enough oxygen in. It does help with snoring, and there's mouth tape as well. So again, discount code Hard Yarn. Get over to them. All the links are in our bio and show notes. And finally, this episode is brought to you by Feed. Feed is, we got the beef liver, we got the oyster, we got the beef organ complex. They got honey. And collagen, I think, as well. And it's all animal-based, so it's very bioavailable. You're not pissing it out. So it's quite important that you actually get the benefits out. But there's plenty of benefits to getting it. I've been having it every morning. And maybe it's another reason I've felt incredible, Mandi. I felt very good. So, but thank you so much to all of our sponsors. All of those last three, they have a Hard Yarn discount code for 10 or 15% off, depending on who you go to. But yeah, thank you so much for supporting us and support those who support the podcast. So before not before. Today we were joined by Mandi Nelson, author, spiritual healer potentially, yoga instructor. You still
just on retreats.
On retreats, okay, cool.
Yeah.
But yes, Mandi, what did we chat about today? Very interesting episode.
Ooh, we went everywhere, really.
Yes.
Everywhere. We ended up at the 0 point field, the space from which all is created from.
Yep. We discussed your session with you.
Yeah, we discussed how we cleared through some childhood triggers, childhood memories, as well as past life and galactic implants.
Oh, that was an interesting part. We even touched on the mass awakening that we're seeing around the planet, being okay with our triggers and understanding what we can learn from our triggers.
Absolutely. And the 80-20 rule, or universal law of two came in.
Bloody awesome episode. Anyone who wanted me to play devil's advocate today on this spiritual episode, I lent right in. So enjoy it. Thank you so much for joining us, Mandi. And let's get hard.
Welcome to Hard Yarns Podcast.
I am fucking fat.
Anything Chris White says, please disregard it.
5D is actually a state of being. It's a unity consciousness. That was Hard Yarns with me, Frankie Rose. So I'm going to throw it over to your co-host,
Daniel Delby.
And Cameron Branch.
I would do this and then I'd gong.
Free in attendance for the millions listening at home. Let's get hard.
I've just got this. Yeah, just so I can operate from here. But that's we're on. So, Mandi, thank you so much for joining me again. Third time you've been on.
Third time.
For some reason, I forgot about the first time. Not that you are not unmemorable, but I remembered the very, might have been my third or fourth episode when you
Seventh.
Seventh, was it? Yeah, wow.
Yep.
And it was, you had just written your book. You had just finished writing a book.
Yeah, I was just about to launch that.
What was that? That was the
Awakening My Spiritual Heart.
Yes,
Yep.
yes. So, and I'm interested, before we get into, the crux of today's episode and what we're going to unpack, is there anything because, how long ago was that? That might be 6 years ago almost.
Yeah.
So have you changed in certain ways, and you look back on what you've written in that book and go, I wasn't correct, or maybe I was perceiving something differently then, or has there been growth and change since?
Yeah, there has. And to be honest, I went back and tried to read the book probably about 6 months ago, and I couldn't read it.
Wow.
I read the first maybe, I don't know, a couple of pages, and I just went, no, this is...
With fresh eyes, new understanding.
I mean, that book is the underlying principles that I live my life by. Mm-hmm. However, I have stepped away from, let's not say stepped away, but more moved towards...
You've evolved.
shadow work.
Yeah.
I have evolved. Absolutely.
And that's what I think it's interesting. That's why I like listening back. I haven't actually gone back and listened to a full podcast before. Sorry, motorbike just started out, so it scared the shit out of me. I haven't gone back and listened to a full podcast, and I might go do it because I am interested to hear, because I know my values, my opinions, my traits, the way I interview. I know everything about me, and just that 6 years has completely changed. So I'm interested to know what I was thinking back then. And that's what's always interested me when people have, spiritual evolutions, and they grow, and they've put their thoughts down in writing for the world to see, and then we all grow, we all change. So I'm interested, I don't know what Eckhart Tolle, for example, would think about The Power of Now, his first book, compared to what he's trying to preach now. So do you just look back at it and it's like that is part of your journey?
Oh, absolutely. And I think for me, it was imperative to put that out there. And for others to learn from, there are no mistakes that we make. It doesn't matter what path we have walked, what we have done in the past is all an opportunity for learning and growth.
Yeah.
And so I think from that perspective, and also most people could do with an extended period of purification. And that ended up being 11 years for me.
Wow. And what way were you purified?
Well, no alcohol, no coffee, organic food.
Sorry, I say as I'm drinking a coffee in front of you. Yeah. Yep.
That was 11 years. I have loosened now, and I operate more from the law of two, universal law of two.
Oh, explain the universal law of two.
Well, if we look to nature, everything is either growing or dying. So that is exactly the same for us. So every single choice in a 24-hour period that we get to make is we're either growing or dying with that choice. So a simple, let's say you go to the bakery after this, and they have salads.
Yeah.
Salads available, or a meat pie. And you could choose salad and water, or you could choose the meat pie and Coke. Okay, so is that going to diminish you?
Yeah.
Or is that evolving you?
Yes.
So they say if we have an 80-20 rule.
Oh, mate, that's... I've been saying on the podcast, I didn't even come up with, I just said it, that it is, I live by 80-20. A little bit of wiggle room. I'm allowed to every now and then have a dirty burger.
Yeah.
Have a night where I go and have a few nights drinking on the beers.
Yep.
A night where, but then discipline, 80%. 80%, I feel, and I don't know... Yeah, I like that. It's worked out well. Yeah, 80-20. I think it's really good because when you completely... I mean, for me, the reason I did it like this is because I had tried to restrict myself for certain things. Like if I go... Use an example when I try and do dry July and not drink.
Yep.
If I'd have that one sip of beer,
beer,
I'd be like, oh, well, I might as well have 10 now. So, I was, I guess, understanding of my weaknesses or my vices, so I just avoided them at all. I'm even doing that now. Like I understand drinking, for example. Like I don't resonate really with getting drunk too often anymore. Doesn't mean there's not a time where I go, right, I have a good night here.
Yeah.
Which I've done a few times recently, and Christmas is harder to avoid.
Yes.
And then, but instead of going in with the intention as well with those nights, going, right, let loose, have a bit of fun, just enjoy yourself, and then you're going to have to deal with the consequences the next couple of days. You're not going to feel good. Maybe the next week or two, you're going to still have to sort of work out some of that sluggishness, but then you'll be right.
Yeah.
And just understand, all right, this is the consequence I deal with. And that's how I'm trying to live with everything. Same with a burger. Go for a run, make up for it, okay?
So you would have been, I would say, are you a type A personality?
I don't know what a type A and a type B is.
So are you all or nothing previously? Have you been all or nothing?
Yeah, I reckon.
So that's...
Yeah, I'd be like, all right, well, if I'm drinking, I might as well drink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was always very all or nothing, which was the massive swing for me from going, from binging alcohol and all the rest of it back to taking 11 years on this path of purification where I'm only eating organic food. I'm not even wearing the colour black.
Yeah.
Wow. Right. If there was any way that I could aspire to light higher, that was what I did.
Yeah.
For a whole 11 years.
Wow.
So, being all or nothing, this 80-20 rule for me is actually, it's freedom. I lived in another 11 years of those 11 years of my life with a lot of restriction.
Yeah.
Not
freedom.
No.
Not at all.
Although I did find some spiritual freedom through that.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I think
It's
I
like
was
not drinking is incredible. I did 3 months at the start of this year. I can't tell you how good I felt. But it was great having a beer after. So just having a little wiggle room.
Absolutely. And like for me, I think it was I wanted to meet my kids in that. Like I deliberated for a long time. That's why I took my 10-year experiment out to another year. And or a little bit longer than a year. I think it might have been the January of the following year. So maybe about, anyway, semantics. But the first time I drank was actually with my kids and we had a bottle of Mum champagne.
Really?
Yeah.
I love it.
After some mushrooms.
Allegedly, Kale. You didn't. That's awesome. But I love that 80-20 approach. I think you should be like that in life with everything. Same with there is room, I think, for these restrictions and cold turkey sometimes. Sometimes when you want to break a cycle or you want to just
Absolutely.
I actually found through these vices and these things that we seem to struggle with, it's probably our greatest lesson, and you're ridding yourselves of lessons of areas that you could improve in by having these vices. And for example, I used to have a issue with marijuana, I think. Not an issue, but I'd turned it into a way of escaping, not feeling great, instead of having an intention of like, this was a fun little thing I get to do, or maybe using it for meditation or for whatever.
Medicinally.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I needed to restrict myself from that to stop it, and it did it. But what I did notice that when it crept back in slowly, when I said, okay, I've dealt with it now I can actually use it for fun, it was very quick to come back into starting to feel like a habit again.
Interesting.
But I used it as a lesson of like, just remember. And I took the lesson, and it was like a light switched, and it was like, have it with intention and spread it out. Like have it. Don't restrict yourself. You enjoy it. It's a fun thing. Same with a wine. I like to have a wine. Why would I restrict myself from doing that? You don't have to completely lock it off, but just use it sparingly with balance.
Yeah,
and with intention.
Yeah, for me, it didn't come back in the way that it used to be. I mean, for me, it's very rare that I do have a drink. It's maybe if we were to divide the year up, maybe it's 5 or 10%.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, if I feel like it in that moment,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, I will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the other night I went out with Grace and we had a wine. Just one. Just one wine, and then we went and had a hot chocolate and churros. Yeah, whatever. Like, not the healthiest night, but it's just sort of like a little date night and just one drink.
Yeah.
That was enough. Didn't have to go, right, let's get wasted. Even the other day, just went down to the little beach bar there and had a couple of beers,
Yep.
like 2 or 3 beers, and
Yep.
that was it. That was the rest of that was the afternoon. You don't have to
No.
eat, but the old me would have been like, let's get carried away. Let's get fucked up. And, I was all in. So, yeah, I would have been a type A.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's important to kind of, for most people, to give themselves an extended period of time where they do purify their system, because there's a lot that we can learn through that. I think for me, getting involved in relationship with John, that actually opened my eyes up to, like, I had placed a lot of my behaviour or bad behaviour to alcohol, like.
Yeah.
So because drama had happened when I'd been drinking.
Yeah.
So when I took away the alcohol and I got involved in relationship, all of a sudden I realised this was not the alcohol. This is still here.
The alcohol
This is
was
the
just
wounding.
showcasing that. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's where I started to roll up my sleeves.
Hence, like I said before, those vices just show you what you need to work on.
Yeah, except that I had done the classic victimisation, I guess, if we look at it from that perspective.
Yeah.
And like, I was a victim of alcohol, not that I ever would have said that, but if you have I was projecting. I was projecting it all onto the alcohol when in fact it was actually me, my wounding, that didn't become apparent until I took away.
And is that how you got into this shadow work side of things?
Definitely.
You found it within yourself and felt like, well, if I can heal myself, I can help others.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the beginning, actually, first couple of years of our relationship, for both of us, our little girl, actually I'll go into that a little bit later, but let's just stay with it. Little girl, little boy were throwing tantrums. And it was actually quite hilarious to look back upon, because we would hold space for people one-to-one or big groups, and, you know, we were seen in a particular way within the community. Yet at home there were things that were really triggering us and bringing out our worst behaviour. So for me, a big one, have you ever looked at where your Chiron is?
My Chiron? No.
The planet Chiron. Be good for you to Google later.
For me, in my
for
natal chart?
everybody. In your natal chart, you can just put into Google, where is my Chiron?
Yes.
For me, my Chiron is in Aries. So that means the wound that I've come in, incarnation after incarnation, is around rejection and abandonment and not being invited, all of that kind of stuff. So all of that, and this lifetime has played out that really well for me, beginning with my relationship with my mum. So, yeah, that's how I was responding. And I was incredibly insecure, really, incredibly insecure around other women, with John. And it was my little girl.
Yeah.
It was my little girl that was feeling these wounds.
Yeah.
And she would respond with anger and just fury, and it would rise up within me, and it would have to come out.
And when you say little girl, you mean the young version of yourself that had turned these experiences into a limiting self-belief.
Yeah. Well, basically, I mean, like, she was looking for all of the evidence, whether the evidence was actually there or not, to sustain that belief.
Yeah. Sinek talks about that with the, trying to ski down a hill. If you're trying to avoid the trees, all you're going to see is trees, and you're eventually going to hit one.
Exactly.
Whereas if you're trying to look for the path, all you're going to see is the path, and you won't even notice the trees.
Absolutely.
And so, that's one of those things where you can get in your own way.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So Yeah, I mean, I had to do some work on it. And I tried so many different things, and eventually I ended up hitting the jackpot probably about 3 years ago. I had a session I'd watched some video, and I had a session with this lady that was in America, and she's saying to me, right, okay, in front of me I see this really evolved conscious woman. And she said, underneath I see a little girl that hates her mum. And I'm just sitting there and I was like, whoa, okay.
Yeah. And you didn't feel like that was the case?
Well,
Or an underlying sense maybe, or?
my mum and I we played our roles really beautifully for one another around rejection and abandonment and betrayal. We played that out really well for one another. As a conscious adult woman, we had, before she passed, we had brought that into a beautiful place of forgiveness and compassion and understanding. But my little girl was still in there kicking and screaming because, in effect, I had abandoned and rejected her and left her way, way behind. So she would raise her ugly, beautiful head every now and again, you know, to try and get my attention.
And to protect you.
Yeah. I think underlying all of this is safety.
Yeah.
You know, as...
Yeah, the limiting self-beliefs you create as a child are there to protect you so it doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
And as Davey Rowe had said when he was on last time, it doesn't matter how big that event is in your life. It could be as small as, like for me, it was, you know, my dad disciplining me in a way that I probably see as appropriate. But because when I was a child, I had experienced it differently. I had attached this idea of helplessness, like I didn't do wrong. I wasn't trying to do wrong. And so I had created this limiting self-belief that childhood version of me had carried on till now and was holding me back in regards to, that one was in reference to being wrong and being told I was wrong for doing kind and generous things. I didn't like to be misunderstood.
So therefore the environment wasn't safe for you.
Yeah.
And
So-
95% of humans on the planet.
And so such a minor little thing
Yeah.
creates that.
Yeah. I think, it could have occurred while you were in the womb, depending upon how your mum felt when she was pregnant. We also come in with previous incarnations. Like a lot of light workers, or way showers, if we want to call ourselves that. I just put you into that one.
I know.
We've been persecuted in the past.
Yeah.
And so there's a fear of showing who we truly are. And that was perpetuated while we were children as well, because whenever we stepped out of the box of correct behaviour, we were punished for it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't safe to be who we truly are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, and you see it, I see it within some of my best friends. They seek, they've created comfort in discomfort.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's not ignorance. They're not idiots or anything like that. It's just this is what the world has been told to us as it. This is what it's been given to us as. This is the process. This is the broad idea of what you've got to do. This is the program. Stick to this, and you are a success. And to go outside those walls is quite scary. I'm doing it at the moment. It's different because I feel like mine's an intentional leap into this. So I feel, a little scared, but also confident that even if it, I guess, doesn't work out, I'm not a failure. Like, it's going to work out, but I'm not a failure. I don't even know how I'm trying to explain this, but I feel like the way that I've leapt into this is intentional. And some people fall into these traps unintentionally, and then they fall into the depths of of despair, and then this is where they turn to alcohol. This is where they turn to outside vices. They become depressed. They find a whole lot of different things to escape the reality, even TV, sports,
absolutely.
exercise.
But that despair has, I believe that is a key part of our evolution. From
Totally.
that despair,
Totally agree.
that's where we grow and evolve from. We have an opportunity in that space.
I mean, I even look at myself now and I go, yeah, I'm so far evolved from the person I was, 6-7 years ago. I can't wait to look back in 10 years and go, you were a dickhead. Like, you thought you knew everything, mate. Like, so, but that's the thing. I think we're constantly growing. As we've said at the start with your book, at the time that was right for you. That's what and it was right for a lot of people. Even if it set enough people on the right path,
Absolutely.
that's what role it played.
Yep.
And you're a different person now, just like I'm a different person. In 10 years, we're both going to be different. If we're not, we're probably not growing, are we?
Precisely.
So,
Precisely.
nothing wrong with
Law of two.
Law of two, yeah.
Yeah. Growing or evolving. Yeah. So I think we were talking about my little girl.
Yes.
And I'm not sure where we got with that, but I had this session anyway. So she's saying to me, well, I see this wounded child. And she sent me a list of questions to work through. And I took 3 months off and I worked through these questions.
Who was this? Like a mentor?
I guess you could call her that. I just had one session with her.
Okay.
And basically what happened straight after that session, because she was in America, I was sitting outside just on the couch and the clothing line was in front of me. And I was sitting there and I noticed that there was a blue, what I thought at the time was a blue dress on the line. And I was looking at this dress and I witnessed my mind and I was watching my mind go logical. Oh, look at that blue dress. Oh, that's not my blue dress. It's like, oh, we have such and such living here now. Maybe it's his girlfriend's dress. And there came in my little girl, and the very next thought she was like, John can have people around here now because we basically have this person living here, and how would I know? And I was just witnessing this directly after the session going, there she is. There she is, Mandy. Like, there is nothing logical about that. And then in the next moment, the light had shifted and I could see that this blue dress on the line was not a blue dress. It was my blue beach towel. And that just blew me away because it was so clearly where my mind was going. Yeah. That insecurity. So that really set me on the path. This lady Linda talks about the little child being the artificial intelligence within our matrix. And I really resonated with that. Yeah. And these questions were designed to allow us to look at ways that little person within is trying to get our attention. And they will come out in ways that we don't necessarily want them to. And with all of the work that I've done, that was what cleared it the most. And now things will happen. Same situations that used to happen that were completely innocent. Yet in my world, skiing down the hill, I was seeing the trees. Yeah. And there is nothing there. There is no trigger. And I'll think about it afterwards and I'll be like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. It is, it's an interesting realization when you start to see your own limiting self-beliefs getting in your way.
Wounds, childhood wounds, trauma, our darkness.
My wound of being hurt in a relationship was protecting me from being hurt again, but it was also stopping from letting in new love. So once I seen that, I was like, oh my God. It was a self-realization.
Yeah.
You only see it when you're ready to see it.
Absolutely.
And that's why I'm quite happy to repeat myself over and over and over again on this podcast, and maybe to the annoyance of some of the people who listen every week. But if there's one week where one person hears that one message and that it's time for them to hear it, then that's all that matters. Because I use the Jim Carrey speech as my example. I've listened to it, 30, 40, 50 times, and it was the speech that set me on my path of taking a chance on doing something you love. And that's what I heard. That's all I heard. And now I listen back to it and I hear so many other messages that I just didn't even hear. They were there, the same speech, the same words, the same person, but I wasn't ready to hear that part of the message. I just got what I needed out of that part first. And that happens consistently. People may be listening to this podcast, maybe someone listening to a reel at home, maybe someone doing some work with you, maybe the 10th or 15th session they go, and you've been saying it the whole time, but they just weren't hearing it because they weren't ready.
Yeah, absolutely. I asked you the other day when you came and saw me if you knew anything about human design or gene keys. I feel my human design, I'm a projector, so I can see patterns for people really clearly. So as you know, when you came and saw me, we sat and we chatted probably for the first hour. Yeah. So I'm kind of collating information and I can draw the patterns out of that to see where the triggers are happening based on the wounded child. Yes. And that is the creation of the epiphanies for people.
And we'll get to the actual session in a moment, but maybe before we get on to that, I want to talk about something that I'm not sure if you're across, and maybe you can't give me an incredible answer. Maybe you can, but I am seeing this. We just spoke about people are not ready to see something until they're ready to see it. And I've seen it evolve over the last 10 years on a mass scale where people were not ready to hear things or see things or just chose not to. They were blind to it. And for whatever reason, I am seeing this mass awakening to truth in so many areas. Not one or two people where it's what it felt like it used to be. It feels like it is the majority. People see through the lies. They see through the media bullshit. They see through the lies that have been sold to us about our health system and politicians and in every conceivable way. People were not ready to hear it at whatever point, but something has happened over the last 5-10 years where just slowly people have eventually seen it, I guess. What do you think's happening there? Like this awakening that I'm seeing. Am I just surrounded by people who are also seeing it? So I just see, you surround yourself with the people you want to be around. Maybe I'm just seeing it because it's the red car. It's the you see it once, so you see it everywhere.
That's interesting. And I was actually considering this myself this morning. I think there are some belief systems, or there are some wisdoms out there that speak to, because there are more of us awakening, much more of us awakened to our light. There is a much larger light quotient upon the planet. So, as a result of that, being more light, it's much easier for those to awaken.
That goes back to that incredible quote from the movie Coach Carter.
I don't think I've seen the movie.
Where it is
should I go
your
and watch
greatest your greatest fear is not that you are inadequate, but you are powerful beyond all measure.
Yes, I do know that.
And I can't remember the exact quote line for line, but your light unconsciously validates others to reflect their own light.
Yes, absolutely. And I would agree with that 100%. Actually, over the last couple of years, I've started off Heartlight Mastery, which is an online course, and I meet with people on a monthly basis. They make a commitment for 12 months to prioritise their spiritual growth. And I think because there are more of us out there just living from our heart, living from our truth, it's the ripple effect. It might be the person at the service station that serves you, and maybe you smile and ask them how they are, or just some random little thing that you say exactly as you were speaking to in this podcast. Someone might hear something that just ignites their flame of alchemy.
Do you know what it is for me?
What's
I
that?
know what mine is.
What's
and
that?
I didn't even realise it. Was holding the gate open for people at the swimming pool when they're behind me, and then they'll say thank you, and I'll say it's all good, no worries, and then let them through, and I feel this connection of like, that was very kind of that person to do that. That's one little thing for me. It's something so insignificant.
Yeah.
And I only realised it the other day because I always do it. I always just conscious who's around. Is there someone behind me that I can let through first? Always hold it open.
Random acts of kindness. It's bringing it back to the heart.
And if there's millions of people around the world doing that same thing, that person might go out that door with a little bit of a better mood, not yell at that person in the car, not get road rage.
Yep.
Maybe be kinder to the barista when they're getting their coffee. It is a snowball, so I get it. I see it.
Yeah.
It is. We're unconsciously shining the light so others can do it as well.
We're acting from our heart, from our heart's truth.
The awakening is here.
Yeah, it is.
I feel it.
Yeah.
I feel truth or something. There's something.
Well, it's interesting. I'm going to bring in gene keys again.
Yeah.
So,
Explain to me gene keys because I don't quite know.
okay.
I'm not across that concept.
Well, I'm not the best person to explain that, and I would encourage you to get a local guy, Mark Bentley, on, because he does work with Richard Rudd, who is the founder, who had a 3D epiphany or awakening and downloaded this gene keys, which is based on I Ching.
Okay.
Now, he's talking about the new human evolving, and gene key number 55, which is talking about the, do you know the life path of a dragonfly?
No, what's the life path of a dragonfly? Tell me.
Okay. Well, dragonflies, what do they represent for us?
Oh, I don't know. I really don't know.
Transformation.
I was about to
Metamorphosis?
say metamorphosis, yeah.
Transformation.
Okay.
Okay, so whenever we see a dragonfly, then that is spirit, God, goddess, mother, father, God, whatever we want to call it, our higher self, showing us transformation, metamorphosis is on the cards. The life path of a dragonfly is it begins in a pond and it just swims underwater. It's a nymph. It doesn't have to come up for air. Its whole life is within the water. And then there's some genetic change that happens and we don't know what that genetic change is that happens. And it starts to walk up a blade of grass or a stalk. And as it does that, there's some kind of beautiful alchemy that happens to the dragonfly that allows it to form wings and develop a head and a thorax and all of the rest of it. And then it flies off. So he says that we are human. There's a human evolution happening, a transformation, a genetic shift and jump. Now, some people talk about the 24th gene key or 24th gene coming online. So it's all very...
What's the 24th gene?
Well...
An unknown...
It's an unknown quantity. It's like we're about to take this jump. Humanity is about to take this jump. And actually, I was listening to something on the way here, and they're even saying that as of January the 30th next year,
Wow.
that this evolution is going to start to be seen.
Well, I'm already seeing it.
Yeah.
It's peeking its head out. People can say what they want about, the Trump election. The things that we're seeing that excite me, like the RFK stuff, looking into health and what's causing.
Absolutely.
Obviously, less. It's a little different in Australia. The food that they have in America is ridiculous. But if RFK can make an impact, and health is just one aspect. But if
education?
if he can make one small bit of impact on the CDC and all of these, I guess, organisations that regulate our health and go, look at this data, you have been wrong the whole time because of this, this, this and this. If he's not, then they'll find it. So it doesn't have to be vaccines. It doesn't have to be, the food source, the corn syrup. It doesn't have to be anything. Whatever it ends up being, he wants to get to the bottom of it. I haven't heard that happen before.
No, it's really exciting.
And that's just health.
Yeah.
Which health is a big part of what set me on my journey. I think I had some health issues and they made me start thinking about what I was putting in my body, and it's the rabbit hole.
Absolutely.
You start to see, what have I've been lied to? Mine was health. Mine was why am I eating that food? Why did I think that was okay?
Yeah.
There was the ones that you knew were unhealthy but you still ate, like fast foods. But it was the food at the shop where I was like, what has this got in it?
Exactly.
Why am I eating it? And it started there and then it moved on. But, we're seeing UFO hearings like 3 days ago. Very interesting what they're talking about there. Actually, I think I might, before, because we'll get into our session because that is obviously why you're here, but I might play this because I think it's attached to my microphone. So let me just have a quick little gander. This is Mandate Truth, actually. He put this out. If you can hear it, hopefully it goes through.
Technologies not made by our government or any other government are monitoring sensitive military installations around the globe. Furthermore, the U.S. is in possession of UAP technologies, as are some of our adversaries. I believe we are in the midst of a multi-decade secretive arms race, one funded by misallocated taxpayer dollars and hidden from our elected representatives and oversight bodies.
What the American people need to know is that the U.S. military and intelligence community are sitting on a huge amount of visual and other information, still photos, video photos, other sensor information, and they have for a very long time. And it's not those fuzzy photos and videos that we've been given. There's very clear
high res,
high resolution.
How many visuals, graphics, videos, photos?
I mean, I've been told hundreds, maybe thousands.
Do you believe, just for the record, that the federal government, any part of the federal government, is knowingly concealing evidence about UAPs from the public?
Yes, sir. 100%.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. I also want to just go down the line. I know many of you have already said this, but just for the record again, just briefly, what do you believe UAPs could be or are?
Strong evidence that they are non-human, higher intelligence.
That's a congressional hearing 3 days ago in the US.
That's beautiful.
I mean, part of my skeptical mind goes, what are they distracting us from in the meantime?
Yeah, I hear you.
Which I think this information's been there for long enough and obvious enough. Why now do they want to do it? On their own terms, I guess. But regardless, the fact that this sort of information's coming out, the fact that we're seeing, a revolution where the legacy media is no longer in control. We are seeing podcasters, independent journalists have even here in Australia, this misinformation bill, for example.
Yeah.
Our podcast, people like Millie over in over east, Chris Primod, Pundits Politics, everyone, Australia, Allied Council of Australia. There's been an abundance of quote unquote people with influence asking the people to contact these crossbenchers, these senators, and appeal to them to not put this bill through.
Absolutely.
And it looks like, we find out today, I think, it looks like it's been a success. So the independent media of Australia has beaten the Prime Minister, has beaten the Labor Party. We have come together as independent sources of media to beat the legacy media.
Yeah.
And you see the exact same thing happened in America with the US election.
Definitely.
It was independent media. No one believed the legacy media. No one. Why would you?
Yeah.
They lied.
Yeah. Look, I stopped watching or paying any attention to mainstream media probably about 20 years ago.
Yeah, wow.
Because I just was well aware that it was feeding negativity.
I think my awakening to the mainstream media was around terrorism and painting all Muslims with one brush.
Yeah.
I was like, no, that's not the case. And I've referenced a few times this guy being interviewed where he said, no, like, you know, genital mutilation is not a Muslim problem. It's a Pakistan problem. You can't go to the Indonesians, the Muslims in Indonesia who don't do genital mutilation, and call them all fucking disgraceful people.
Yeah.
And that went, oh, yeah, you're right. It's not a Muslim thing. It's a Pakistan thing.
Yeah.
And it's it's this African country thing or this Middle Eastern country, whatever. Like, these are very segregated topics and issues, not painting. And that was, for whatever reason, that was the broad brush. I think the weapons of mass destruction were another trigger. Like, you just going in there for oil. We're going in there to start a war, to have an endless, forever war. And so they were my triggers for mainstream media. Just was like, why did you lie about that?
Yeah, I think I got hold of a book many years ago when I was 18 or 19. It was a very thin book. I don't even, and there weren't so many copies in publication. So it was a book called None Dare Call It Conspiracy. And I read that, and it spoke about World War II and how America had funded that, basically, both sides.
Yeah, both sides, yeah.
Yeah, and that opened my eyes.
Yeah.
At that age, and I was like, okay, there is something more going on than what we've been shown.
Yeah, finding out about the Gulf of Tonkin incident where they said they were bombed and they weren't, but just so they could appeal to the public to let them go to Vietnam. You know, having an awareness that they were going to be bombed at Pearl Harbor, but they let it happen.
Yep.
Let all those people die.
Yes.
To have the population support going into World War. Like, these things, you go, you're willing to let your own people die or lie to the public to serve what purpose? To go to war? You didn't want to go to war, so why do you want to go to war so badly? What are you benefiting from this? And seeing all these things unfold.
Yeah.
You just, eventually you go, everything's a lie. You've been lying to us this whole time on everything. I thought it was just health to begin with. I thought it was just food companies wanting to make money, and then you see it everywhere.
Yeah.
And once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Yeah, I think it's a broadening of perspective. I think now we're being given more of the 360-degree view.
Oh, yeah.
Than what we've ever had before. And that is the nature of a sacred relationship, or a relationship at this point in time with whoever you choose to be your loved one. It's no longer the I'm right, you're wrong. It's more kind of, if we stand back to back together, we get to see a 360-degree view.
Yeah.
Because I get your perspective, and I don't, I mean, we never know what another person has actually been through and how they view the world. So I think our perspectives have been really broadened for those that have eyes to see and ears to hear.
Sorry, I'm eating my blueberries.
As you do.
So let's get into what we went through, because we did some shadow work for me.
Yeah.
And I think this is pretty cool. We've done this with my mushroom experience. We've done it with my childhood regression, my past life regression, where I've done it and then explained what I experienced. And then a lot of people have reached out and gone, right, I want to go through that as well.
Fantastic.
So whether that's again, it's just, if that one person needed to hear it or wanted to hear it at the time, I think people will get a bit out of this, and hopefully they reach out to you. That's if you want the work. So firstly, since we've done this shadow work.
Yeah. How are you? We'll start that midway.
So every day, like over the last, I'd say, year, Every day I've had, like generally growth. You have a couple of down days or whatever, but like some really good days. And for almost no major event over the weekend, like that really triggered. I didn't like win lotto or anything, like to make you go, oh my God, this is the greatest day of my life.
Yeah.
But I had what I feel like was the greatest weekend I've ever had in my life, and it was just so insignificant to a point. I shouldn't say that considering the people I've been hanging around, but you know what I mean? It wasn't anything outlandish. And I just felt incredible. We had my daughter's birthday party.
Yeah.
I felt like I just leaned into it, and I created a little scavenger hunt. So we made up our own little map with tea bags and burnt the edges, and it was her first birthday party where her friends from school came, and there was like 10 or 15 kids, and I took them on a little treasure hunt. We went down to the local lake. We got a magic key that opened up the treasure box. All the treasure map led to it. It was a great day.
Yeah.
Scotty seemed to have a great day. I just went down to the coast, had a couple of drinks with my partner after, went back to hers, relaxed, watched a movie, nothing. The next day, went for a run, did some gardening, watched some TV with me mate, and that was it. And it was that's it. That's not there's nothing much to that. Obviously, the birthday's a bit of fun, obviously, but
definitely
nothing. Just nothing like you completed this marathon or these big life moments that you remember.
Yeah.
And it was it was like the greatest weekend of my life. It felt like it felt fresh. That's why I shaved my head as well.
I noticed.
I just felt like reborn.
Fantastic.
Felt like a blank canvas ready to start again.
Fantastic.
And it genuinely felt like, and I said this to you at the end, I felt like I had this one thing, I didn't know what it was, still there.
Yeah. Yeah, because I always ask people about their triggers, like what is showing up for you in this point in time, and that's because I see the world, each interaction that we have is an opportunity for us to learn from, because I see the world as our mirror pretty much.
So let's premise this by maybe explain what you're doing, because it is a clearing for, I don't know, maybe potentially you can explain it better, but I guess shadow work. Let's start with that, so shadow work and working with that. So because everything I've done in the past is me working through it and figuring it out. And there were certain points in this process where you did, but it felt like you helping me this time. It didn't feel like I was doing the work. It felt like you've done enough. Here's someone to help you. We're gonna sort this. So explain the shadow work process and what you give to people.
Okay, so I view it as, actually I have deep respect and honor. It is a real privilege to work with people in the way that I do. I view it as me holding their hand.
Yeah.
And I think people come to me when they've kind of hit a dead end. Or maybe that's not the right way to put it, but there is a loop occurring.
Well,
there is something going on, and they're not sure.
That's exactly how I felt coming to you. I feel like I've gone through every other way, and the message of let other people help you was coming through.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't know what that meant. Now, in hindsight, as you've just said that, that's definitely what it meant. Let someone help you.
Absolutely.
You don't have to do this yourself.
Absolutely. And so, they will come to me at that point, and I guess the session begins. We do the sessions in my 95 square metre geodesic dome, Dashimaya Temple.
Beautiful property as well. No reception out there, which I love.
Well, there are in certain pockets, and it depends who you're with.
I'm with Vodafone. So.
Okay, no reception for you.
But it's quite, it's very quiet. It's nice.
Yeah, and John's been working on the energy there for almost 30 years by doing Agnihotra, which is an ancient Vedic fire ceremony. Yep. So you can feel that, like some people feel that because we're off 2J Road, we're in Gidgegannup, some people feel that when they hit 2J Road. And we're quite a distance away from that, probably about 13 kilometres or something.
I felt something. Easiness, that's what I felt. Turning off 2J Road onto, I can't remember what that road is, but yeah. Turning off.
Yeah. So it'll begin when the person arrives, and I don't think I'll go into the grandmother tree. We have this grandmother tree that we get people to connect in with. There's a bit of a story to do with a lawman. We get them to connect with her, to say hello to her pretty much. And then they'll come down to me, as you did. And before I smudge, so I smudge with sage, which we grow up on the property, wormwood, tea tree, whatever else John decides to put in there. Before I do that, I'll ask for permission to be able to work with the person's guides. I will offer acknowledgement to country. I will call in all of my guides, and at that point, I'm starting to connect in. And as you witnessed, I burp.
Yes. I'm glad you gave me a bit of a warning about it, because once you started going, I was like, what is happening? But no, I understand.
What did she have for breakfast?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on with her?
Yeah.
So that's my way of clearing energy.
Yeah.
And I start connecting in at that point. So my physical body becomes like a hollowed bone. So I start feeling different things, and I start getting different messages. So for you, there was some stuff around the solar plexus that I picked up on. That's all that's coming to mind at this point.
Hip, I think.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hip, yeah. And so I was just smudging you. And then you came into the temple space and you lay down upon my beautiful crystal grid, which has, I don't even know how many crystals that grid has, but they're all aligned with either your Earth Star chakra or your Soul Star chakra and all of the other chakras of the body.
Yeah.
So that grid itself, I should do an experiment and get people just to lie in the grid, just because actually Deshmaya Temple was gridded with crystals underneath, so buried underneath and around the whole circumference.
What's the idea behind crystals? What's the...
Oh, they amplify. They're record keepers.
Yeah, okay.
And they amplify energies.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which that kind of makes sense to me, really, like in any sort of science, if you want to amplify something, adding something else to it. Yeah, I get it. I'm not going to pretend to know the science behind it, but we'll agree about it.
yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah. And then
I'm not about playing devil's advocate today. Like, sometimes it's nice, and I've been doing it lately. Like, look, I think what we do well on the podcast sometimes is play devil's advocate to make sure you can probably reach people who are a bit skeptical on it. I'm fucking sick of that.
Yeah, well,
I mean, this is what I think. This is what I believe. I like it.
I think what is happening worldwide, and I think we've already spoken a little bit to this, is a broadening of perspective. So if you were skeptical about crystals, go and buy one and stick it in your pocket and see what happens.
Oh, yeah. Because what's going to happen?
Experiment.
Either nothing or you'll be like, holy fuck, I won the lotto. Yeah.
Exactly, just experiment. I think that's how we broaden our perspective.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Good.
So from that point we sat and we had a chat, and generally that's when people will explain to me what their triggers are, and I will have some kind of understanding of what needs to be cleared. We can take that back to their childhood. But we're not only clearing this life, we're also past lives will come in, and I know when I'm dealing with a past life because I start to hiccup.
Oh, okay. I see.
And the other thing that we're clearing a lot these days, and I guess you have referenced it by bringing in that video earlier, a lot of stuff that we're dealing with is clearing from a galactic perspective as well.
Wow.
And when we did your session, you had an implant in your neck that had been put there.
So...
Yeah.
Mate, because I hadn't told anyone that I was really sore there. I'd been sore for especially the last 2 weeks. I was like, what is happening just in this left part? Pain.
It was a rod.
Pain's gone, man.
Yeah.
Like literally just the day, when that afternoon I got home, pain was gone. So what do you mean? Actually, let's come back to that because
Okay.
I'd really want to dive into the alien stuff, but yeah. So we talked about the triggers.
Yeah, we talked about the triggers. And we were able to get to a seed.
Yes.
There.
So mine came up that I didn't like having to repeat myself over and over and over again. Didn't mind a couple of times. It was just like when someone's not listening and not getting it.
Yeah.
That was frustrating to me. And people prioritizing money over purpose.
Yeah.
And trying to push me to prioritize money over more so that. You should get money for this and that. It really triggered me. I don't like it. I would prefer to, this.
Which came back to when you were a child, perhaps not being heard.
Yes.
Not being heard and not being seen for what it was, which is not unusual upon this planet for children.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was where we brought that one back. And then once I started playing my crystal bowl, that connected in with that as well.
And the colours that I was seeing, and I don't know what the crystal bowl, because you can feel the vibration anyway. You can hear it, obviously, but you feel it. It's like a buzz, I guess.
Yeah, well, it's 639 hertz.
Oh, that's what I meditate at.
Isn't that
Is
interesting?
that
It's F. It's an F ball.
okay.
It resonates with Solfeggio at 639, which is the heart space.
That's literally, I got a YouTube video when I do my connection. It's 639 hertz. What the fuck?
Well, you can also experiment with 936 and 369 as well.
Okay.
They say the power of 3 is an amplification. So when you work with 3, that will amplify it.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
I've found that one. I've gone through many different ones. This was the one where I just seemed to be able to connect.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
Well, there we go.
Yeah.
So we had the right key.
Fucking overshit. Like, what the fuck? Yeah.
In order to be able to tune into you.
Yeah, okay.
So my mind doesn't completely understand or cannot make sense of what occurs.
Yeah.
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 Okay. This exists beyond the container of my mind and the container of most people that I see as well, which is why I am always dropped in with something that is undeniable for that person so that they can have the,
Acknowledgement.
Acknowledgement, and also it adds credibility to the rest of what's just occurred, because the rest of it is completely out there.
Yeah.
Completely out there.
Yeah.
So I play this bowl. Well, first, I might use a rattle or whatever it is that I'm called to do. Once I'm attuning to the highest possible light that I can, I'm attuning to God, Goddess, and all that is. I'm attuning to Source. I invite in my guides and your guides. So we're working with your higher self. And I also invite in an elder that I did a lot of work with, Nana Violet, and she assists as well. Sometimes she does all of the work for me, and actually in the session I did after you, she was utilising this is going to sound quite she was utilising a tiny thin like straw, metal straw, to pull out pins and needles through a person's shoulder and arm, and she was literally like she was sucking through that, and she had a whole mouth full of pins and needles, and she was spitting that out into the earth, and she was showing me how to do that. I'd never seen that before, so this is completely out. And then when I checked with the person afterwards, they're saying, I've been having pins and needles.
See, I don't doubt anymore, because my experience with you is totally validation enough for me. And I guess people can be skeptical at home listening. They'll be like, nah, fuck, what are you on about? Yeah. They can be, but for whatever reason, I'm in, because I know, like, it's one of those knowings. When it happens, you're like, oh, no, something happened.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, I play the crystal bowl. It's I don't even know how big it is. It might be 14 inch or something.
Pretty sizable,
Yeah. Play that, and so there must have been some confusion as I came down, because through playing this crystal bowl,
Yeah.
I get visions and I see things. I get messages. So I'll feel within my physical body something. So you had spoken to me about an entity that you had attached.
Yeah, we'd seen we talked about on the pod the other day, like it's been attacking me. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd seen the entry point, because when I smudged you at the beginning, I could pick up there was some stuff around your solar plexus. Yeah. And the solar plexus resonates, well, it's our mini sun. So it's like our I am. Mm-hmm. So, I sensed that. And then when I started to play the bowl, I could see the inception point of this entity within you.
Wow.
And it had come in on a tiny pinprick. And then I think I explained to you, so this gets completely out there for our listeners.
Yeah. They're all in. Don't worry, I get messages. They're all in.
Okay, fantastic. And then it was a bit like one of those child's toys that you throw at the wall, those sticky.
Yeah, the hand thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So it had like a ball at the bottom, and then it expanded out into your heart. So it was kind of blocking your purpose. So you telling me that you're feeling renewed and rebirth tells me that that's completely gone. That was another vacuum that we used, and these are the first time that I've been using vacuums.
Okay.
And I don't even...
What was the vacuum?
That was what pulled it out
of
you.
So like visually, like you're visualizing it?
Visualizing. Visualizing. Okay. And it was interesting because with both...
And so this is what I'm getting at before as well, like I'm not doing the work there, you're helping me.
Yeah. Sometimes we need outside assistance. I mean, I go for sessions with people once a month. It's imperative.
I don't know how many times I had been told, let people help.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm fucking letting someone want to do something. Like, come on, help me. I didn't realize let someone help do the work on me. You don't have to do it yourself.
No, because sometimes these things are beyond our thoughts.
Yeah.
And they're beyond the containers of our mind, as you did experience. And then we came up with the rod on the left-hand side of the neck, which was almost like a tracking device.
Well, actually, before we go to that, because that is interesting, but the thing that tripped me out the most is coughing when you were removing it.
Yes, when I was
didn't know
you
were removing, and I started. I felt like a tickle, and I started coughing. That validated a lot for me. I was like, oh my god. But yeah, sorry. Now we found a rod. Now, when you say a rod behind my ear, jaw, hair area, which is where I was it was genuinely where I was sore and something.
Yeah.
Not physical, hey?
Well, okay. So the way that I see it, the physical body is the densest version of ourselves, and sometimes they make it through to the physical body. So I feel that I clear through the physical, the etheric, the emotional, the mental, as well as the other three spiritual bodies associated with your journey or whoever's journey upon this planet, right? So that had made it its way down to your physical body, which is why I could see it. Sometimes they don't have to make their way through the physical body. It's kind of like, it's the onion all over again. We're peeling back layer by layer by layer. So there might be other things within you that we can't see at this point in time that will come up in the future. I mean, yeah.
So, and this was how you suggested a galactic implant.
Yeah. I think it was the Acturians. I think that it was like a tracking device. They were keeping an eye on what you were doing. And I mean, Acturians, by all intents and purposes, have been known to assist humanity. So, and I checked, and I recall saying this to you afterwards, I checked whether it was to be removed or not. And the answer was yes.
Now, is that because I'm on the path now, or was it they were just keeping an eye on me for a good reason or ill intent?
Who knows? Who knows? I checked. Do we remove this or not? And obviously it was having a physical expression within your body
100%.
of pain.
Yes.
So therefore, for you, we did need to clear it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it only recently really started hurting. Like noticeably, Over the last few months, I'd noticed a bit of pain and soreness, and then just bang, gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not a coincidence, man.
No, it is amazing. It is incredible. Like, as I said, my mind cannot comprehend what occurs. And then we also removed something from the back part of your head as well. That was you'd died. Was it
the axe?
Yeah, with a blunt object in the 8th century in England, right? And as I said to you, I don't know.
Yeah.
Historically, I don't know what happened in England at that point in time. I was really intrigued.
Yeah.
So I researched it after you left.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, because the messaging that had come through around that was that you were trying to tell your dad not to do this. No, don't do this. And your dad wasn't listening to you.
Yeah.
And as a result, you ended up dying from a blunt object to the head, right? So when I researched that, it was all around the Vikings.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder what I was telling my dad not to do.
Perhaps you told him not to go to battle. That's what it felt like to me.
And I died for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fuck.
Yes.
Wow.
And then that kind of resonated for me around as a child not feeling seen or heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how it all kind of tied back in together. And I think, and then the crazy little, like, okay, so give me some validation around this. And for you, what came through was the caramel bear that your daughter has, teddy bear, and a train set. And the train set for me was like a caricature of a train set.
Yeah, and
you're
I said
like
Thomas the Tank Engine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that part of it fascinates me, you know, because there's part of my mind too. So if
it's
you're
so random as well. It's not like a very generalized.
Absolutely. You know, and there's part of my mind too that is skeptical of this.
Of course.
You know, part of my mind's a bit like,
am I going
this
crazy?
is completely out there. This is like completely, absolutely out there. You can't get any more out there than that. But then with every single session, something that ties it in, whether it's like there was a random one around penguins with a guy once. I'm like, penguins has come through. Does that mean anything to you? He's like, oh, my God. Me and my mate joke about penguins all day at work because it's so bloody boring.
Yeah.
I'm just like, how does this happen?
Yeah.
This convinces me. And it convinces the other person that something actually has taken place. Yeah,
well, it definitely resonated with me, what you were talking about. And then so by letting you clear this, is it like starting a blank canvas?
It definitely can be, yeah. Look, it depends on how...
Because for me, I think I said to you... I feel like everything's done. Like I've done the mushrooms. I've done the past life regression. I've done the childhood regression. I've done a lot of fucking work to be in a much better place and feel like I've rid myself of my traumas that have held me back, and I've created my own self-limiting beliefs because of them. But there was just that one thing that was just, I knew it. I could feel it. Like it was uneasy. There was something holding me back. And that doesn't feel like it's there anymore.
Fantastic.
I mean, I don't care if it's fucking placebo. I don't care. It worked.
Yeah. Fantastic.
So
yeah, definitely for some people that have done the work.
Yeah.
Although the work continues.
I was about, of course. It's integration, isn't it? You know, making sure you place it into your life. I actually had a conversation with someone who messaged from about the podcast. They messaged about my mushroom journey this morning, and they were asking about it. And I just said the most important part is, regardless of how you do it, whatever you do, whoever you do it with, what you learn in that experience, the most important part is the integration of the lessons. Because if you have this experience and learn so many things and then don't implement them into your life, you are back on the same path.
Yeah.
And it was pointless to begin with.
Absolutely. And look, I think because doing different journeys, plant medicines, different experiences has become such a thing, which is amazing.
Yeah.
I think the danger in that is that we approach it in the same way that we used to take drugs or drink alcohol or whatever. And we think that, okay, I'm just going to go and do this journey, or I'm just going to go and have this session and I don't need to do anything else. So I'll just keep doing that. You know, the integration, absolutely. I agree with you wholeheartedly on that one. The integration is so important to implement those teachings. Yeah.
And then, so for someone who's maybe not done the work, this is their first point of call, is to call you. It's more people like you. What do they get out of it? All right, we're going to deal with one thing. We're going to deal with it all. Or how? You don't really know, I guess.
I don't really know. Sometimes I'm told that's enough for today. That's enough for their system for today.
Yeah. I got told that with the mushrooms several times in our session.
Yeah.
The mushroom said he needs a rest.
Yeah.
I went to recess. They called it. I went to recess. I went to the toilet, had a break, had a chat, and then we went back in.
Yeah.
They said he's had enough.
Yes. Yes. Well, that's it. That's it. And I think you're very open to hearing God wisdom, your own wisdom coming through. You're very open to hearing that.
Yeah.
So I think for a person that maybe hadn't delved into anything, if they were to come and see me, they would absolutely definitely have benefit of it. They might have a couple of days where their body just needs to rest and restore afterwards, but they might not. It's hard to know.
Yeah. I think that's like with anything, with any plant medicine.
Yeah.
I felt again, mushrooms felt very spacey, just trying to figure things out. Nostalgic almost straight away, almost instant nostalgia of like, what have I just experienced? I want to go back. That was so beautiful.
Yeah.
And I still do. I still haven't done. I'm getting nudges to go have a visit. Just go say good day. That's basically what they're saying. Come back, check in with us, say hi. I'm getting little nudges. I might do it. Anyway, but I haven't been quite called to do ayahuasca. I get a couple of little. There's a couple of little things that present themselves.
Yeah.
Just haven't been called.
Well, yeah. I mean, she will definitely call you in when the time is right.
Yes, when it's right.
Yeah. Grandfather, San Pedro.
I'm interested because you just did this experience. Where'd you go? You went to South America?
Yeah, we went to Peru. Which is such an incredible land.
What is it about that place that just even thinking about it seems ancient?
Yeah, well, it is ancient.
Yeah.
It is ancient. One of the callings for me to go there, actually there were a couple. One of them was that the grandfather told me to go. The other thing...
Who's grandfather?
Grandfather is San Pedro. So
Okay.
when you sit with grandfather like San Pedro, for me, my experience of him is actually like sitting on the lap of a beautiful grandfather that just holds you with love and has a beautiful conversation with you.
So San Pedro, you're in reference to the cactus psychedelic?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And so sitting with San Pedro is like sitting with the grandfather.
Yeah, that's what they call him, sitting
Okay.
with,
Was this microdosing or was this
oh, no, it's a full
experience?
dose.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
full dose.
Wow. And how does that process evolve?
Well, how do you take it, or how does that process evolve?
The week, like the month leading in, what are you trying to get from it?
Well, it's like a conversation with God.
Wow.
It's
Prolonged?
a conversation with God consciousness. You will experience, you'll still be in the heart space, you'll still be getting information back from him for maybe 5 to 7 days afterwards. You prepare for it. It's not as extreme preparation as for ayahuasca.
Because that's what they call mother ayahuasca, is
Mother
it?
or grandmother.
Grandmother. So this is
Yeah.
like the feminine and the masculine, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. And for me, as I said before, it's like, whereas the grandmother,
Yes.
she can slap you. She might slap you across the face. and get a bit
stroppy.
yeah. Whereas the grandfather holds you in this beautiful, loving space.
Okay.
It's very loving, and it's a beautiful, kind conversation. And this is for me personally. I feel incredibly held by him, and you can have conversations with him, and he allows you to see things from a much greater perspective.
Yeah, zooming out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Taking the if we take it back to South American or Andean philosophy, what we're doing there is we are taking the Hanan Pacha, which is the condor's view, which is from above.
It's interesting because of late I've been asking for the wisdom to see things from God's point of view, universe's point of view. Some people are triggered by the word God for whatever reason. So universe, source, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
I've been asking to see the things from the universe's point of view. And at times I get glimpses. And
through meditation? Or?
Through meditation.
Yeah.
And through just basic understanding, seeing a situation and zooming out. And then I try to explain that, and people that, generally for the last year or two, people have resonated with what I've said. And then I will say that realization, and then they'll be like, not quite there yet, or not. I'm going to disagree with you on this one. And people who really agree with a lot of things that I say and resonate with a lot of things I say. And so I've gone a bit quiet again on those perspectives. They've been sneaking into some of the pod.
Yep.
But
and I'm bringing it back in.
I just unsure if, we were talking about before, people want to hear things when they want to hear it. People will see it when they are ready to see it, and they'll hear it when they're ready to hear it. I don't think vastly or broadly speaking, a lot of people are ready to hear it. Maybe you're wrong as well. But it also, for example, I touched on it the other day when my perspective of good and bad, and I used the reference of the kids in Gaza versus this beautiful place of privilege that I get to sit here. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because we're all one. And I think that's an understandable concept. For some people, they were like, doesn't sit right for them. And I get that. How can I tell a grieving mother that their son died to set an example for their friends and set them on a path of self-discovery? How could I tell a grieving mother that? I can't.
Well, you can't in the moment. However, she will come to that understanding once she is able to free herself from the pain that will lock her in for as long as it does or it needs to.
Well, the way I'd written it down in my journaling was that it is self-development at the most extreme level of the source consciousness experiencing all that there is to experience, good and bad. And so it's not condemnation of that one person's soul. It is a lesson to itself.
Absolutely.
So when it all comes back to itself, it isn't condemning that one person, and it's not gifting this movie star Brad Pitt. It is showcasing all of what exists for it to understand, and when it comes back all to that original point of consciousness, it doesn't matter because you were all the same thing at the exact same time, which was source.
Yeah.
And people...
And we're all fractals of that.
Correct. An infinite number of fractals of that source experiencing itself to learn, to develop, to grow, continuously expanding and contracting.
Absolutely.
And for me to say that, that's a perfect example of that, trying to understand things from a God consciousness. People don't want to hear it, and they don't want to say it. I get anxious talking about it. It's the one thing I get it's a bit arrogant to suggest you see it from that point of view. It's how it feels.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing. I'll talk about anything. I'll talk about anything. And that's the one thing I go, Why is that, do you think?
Do you think that is because of a fear of judgment?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, fucking look at this guy.
Yeah.
Thinks he knows how God thinks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yet,
from a third dimensional point of view anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
from the way we can logically put it together. Like you suggested before, you have no understanding of how it works. It's just like when I meditate, I don't understand what I'm hearing and seeing.
No.
I don't get it. It's not like I'm hearing or seeing.
And we're explaining it from the container of our minds as
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
which is the third dimensional perspective.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's really challenging to be able to put those concepts into words. They're very experiential. And that is what we experience perhaps when we do plant medicines in ceremony, in ceremonial spaces. That's what we maybe
I truly believe that's what the plant medicines are, the vessel to escape that dimensional reality of thinking and experience, so you can experience it from the quote-unquote God point of view, the God wisdom, the way the universe sees everything. I truly believe that is our gateway to viewing the world from that point of view. And however temporary that is, it doesn't matter. That is, for me, the end game is where I would assume that I had this conversation the other night where I believe that over the next 100 to 200 years, humans as a civilization will ease into it where they can get to that point voluntarily and they can tune in and tune out of it. And then further down the line, it will be a place in which we just exist in.
Yeah.
My true belief.
Well,
over the next 2, 3, 4 centuries.
Maybe it's going to be even sooner than that.
Well, I mean, I'd love it to be next year. Bang. We all just think from a God consciousness. But what would it take to trigger such a mass awakening of seeing it from a God point of view, universe source point of view, for people who get triggered by the word God?
Or maybe it's even heart consciousness. Maybe we could even call it that. Maybe it's more, and from this space of heart consciousness, it means we are taking radical responsibility for our lives and for all of our lives.
Because it's all...
I'm talking about past lives here as well. We're clearing that too.
It's all you, isn't it?
It is. It is. And it's all a reflection of us and all an opportunity for us to learn. Every single interaction, as I said before, is all every single trigger.
So if my I guess, path is just to focus on me, and if that path involves me talking about this on the podcast, which then triggers someone else, then how good. But the focus is me, not trying to convince you of anything, not trying to convince Delby of anything, not trying to convince a listener of anything, just saying this is my experience.
Absolutely.
And this is what I've worked on for me.
Yeah.
And if you can get something out of it, you get something out of it.
And if it triggers you, amazing. What is it triggering there?
Yeah.
What is it triggering?
Let's before we finish, because let's dive into that, because I think triggers are an interesting thing to think about, because you know what triggers you. How can we learn from those triggers?
Well, we can go in and go, okay, well, what am I actually feeling in this moment? Okay, I'm feeling anger. Why am I feeling this anger? Was there something that happened when I was a child? Oh, yeah. Actually, this has been recurrent when I look at it in my whole life. Yeah, that anger stems from definitely when I was a child. What is the underlying belief here? Well, I don't feel safe. So I've developed this anger that's my way of expressing that I actually have fear and I don't feel safe.
Yeah.
Now that's one way we can look at it. Now the other way we could look at it is, okay, I was triggered by the masculine. So if I have a look within, let's stay with the fear. Okay, so I'm in a feminine body. So how is my internal masculine making my feminine feel afraid? Because our physical body has masculine and feminine energies, and that's just taking it to another level. So from there, you could also clear, come and see someone like me to have some clearing done as well, because perhaps it has a past life, or maybe you are carrying something galactic as well that needs to be unlocked. So,
Well, one thing I'm seeing is there's no one cure.
no.
I've now experienced, 5 different ways.
Yeah.
And your own work as well. Before you go down this work is just thinking about things yourself and realizing some certain traits and qualities that you're not quite happy with and whatnot. That's where it probably starts.
Absolutely.
The self-realization.
Yeah.
Then you can start doing the methods. Then you can start diving into psychedelics and plant medicines. Then you can start diving into therapy. Then you can start diving into coming to see someone like you who will help clear it. But I guess it all starts from you, doesn't it? It starts from that first self-improvement.
Yeah. Ancient feminine mystery school teachings speak to... Okay, if we just look at the general spirituality notion, it's that energy moves up and out of us. Okay?
Up and out of us.
Yeah, you think about the chakra system and the Pitta and the Pingala, the energy, sorry about that, moves up and out. I'm a bit of a hand talker. And so ancient feminine mystery school teachings, the energy goes down first. We go down first.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was never encompassed in masculine spiritual teaching. So this is important for men and women, whatever gender we're operating from. So
do you mean like when you say goes down first, almost like going backwards to go forwards? Or just
like an ego death.
Yeah.
Or a dark night of the womb or a dark night of the soul, whatever you want to label it.
Yeah.
So we hit a point where life isn't working for us anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like, what do I do?
Now, how that manifests in a reality can be any number of ways.
Absolutely.
It could be like, I'm just feeling a bit bored and down all the time. Where's my life going? It could be
depressed.
It could be depression, deep depression. It could be alcoholism. It could be throwing yourself into work.
Yeah.
Just work.
A random traumatic event, someone close to you passing.
But yeah, how that manifests doesn't matter, I guess. The levels of which you need to pull yourself out of obviously is important, but as long as you're noticing that you're not in the place that you want to be and that you can improve, I guess that's always the beginning, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that we're always getting messages as well. I'm not sure whether you've heard of the whole feather brick truck expression.
No.
Well, Spirit is trying, before we come to these points of transition, maybe those points of despair or whatever it is for you, Spirit is trying to, or your higher self is trying to direct you in this direction. So to begin with, they'll stroke you with a feather. And you may not notice that. And then they will hit you with a brick. And you may not notice that either. And finally, the third is you'll get hit by a truck. And I know for me, over many years of my life, I had to wait to get hit by the truck.
Yeah, I did as well.
That's something really massive will occur within your life. But then hindsight will allow you to see, actually, I was getting those messages.
Oh, yeah.
I could hear that little voice, but I was just not paying any attention.
And if that's the wake-up point for you to go, I knew it all along. I was being told all along. It was my intuition, whatever you want to do, which I think your intuition is your connection to source.
I agree. Yeah.
I think...
or your connection to your heart space.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the intuition is there.
Yes.
You get these feelings, this relationship isn't quite right. It's not the one for me. It's going to get worse and worse and worse until you have a messy breakup or whatever. Or this job isn't the one for me. It's going to result in you're going to get fired, or it's just going to...
Or drinking isn't right for me, and then a big drama happens at the end of a night, and you've already been getting that message time and time again, and you're just kind of ignoring it.
Yeah. I'm trying to think now of what messages I'm getting little nudges. There's not many of them I'm not listening to. I think I'm getting pretty decent at noticing them.
Well,
I think a lot of I'm seeing it in my partner.
Yeah.
She's starting to notice things where she's like, I need to stop doing this, or I need to start doing that, or whatever. She's doing really well with that. And that's just someone who's close to me that I see it happening with. I see it as well from the outside. You can see it when someone, even the way they just post on social media, you start to see, they've implemented some changes. I didn't know that they were doing that. And then you start to see it. And yeah.
Yeah, I think we have deep connection. I think, you know, and maybe the birds are talking to you, and maybe you're not actually paying any attention to them. You know, the old adage, stop and smell the roses, will literally do that. Appreciate the flowers, appreciate the beauty. Whatever we want more of in our lives is where we take our focus. Feel your connection with our brother the wind. Feel that connection. Feel the light codes coming down from the sun.
Yeah.
Thank Mama Kocha. Thank the water. Have gratitude. It begets more and more abundance. So,
I think this morning was the first time I had true gratitude. Proper.
wow.
Like I have gratitude for things, but I think this morning was the first time I felt it, like at a point of almost in tears. Like, thank you so much. Like that style. I've always had that. Oh no, be gracious, have gratitude, be appreciative of the things that you have, even like your fucking comfortable bed linen or your laptop that you get to work on, or this beautiful studio, or your daughter's health, or whatever. Like there's levels. But the smallest thing is just as important as the biggest thing when it comes to gratitude. And I've always kept on pushing myself to try to genuinely feel it instead of an entitlement of like, no, I deserve this. And then this morning I had proper gratitude. I was like, well, thank you.
What was that over? I'm intrigued.
Nothing.
Wow. That's
Nothing.
beautiful.
Just woke up.
Yep.
I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror, actually, and I went,
Yay.
I'm here.
Yay.
That's what it was. So whatever, all the hard yarners who have been with me from this journey from day one, even if you're 2 or 3 years or 2 or 3 months, I don't care. You've heard me go from where I was to where I am now.
Yep.
This is where I was trying to get to. I'm here. So,
well, you know, I did listen to our first podcast.
I listened to the first
weekend.
5 minutes just to because you mentioned it, and I was like, what the fuck?
That was, I think it might have been one of the first times that you actually started speaking from this perspective around your truth. And then in the next one that we did together, you started speaking about like what you have manifested now.
Yeah. Yeah, just little bits. Just dip my toe in.
Yeah.
Feels good.
It's fantastic.
But that I think that when the mushroom said I was going to be an example, that is the example. That just slowly, slowly. And now I'm starting.
Look out!
What the fuck is going to happen? I don't know.
Watch this exciting new adventure unfold.
Excitement.
Yeah,
is the word.
Yep.
It feels uncomfortable.
Well, growth is a little bit uncomfortable. When you think about the seed, you know, the seed has to make its way through the darkness, through the dark soil, and it has to break through its encasing and getting back to the dragonfly. I mean, that must be a struggle, you know, climbing up that blade of grass and then having wings and everything. So it's exciting though.
Yeah, I'm going to wobble a little bit and be a little... It's like new wings, fresh new wings. That's what it feels like. So it's like, well, I'm actually quite excited about what happens over the next few years. And like when I look back and go, you're still a fucking monkey. Like you're just a
we
dumb.
Always are.
You're just a dummy.
This is like the puppet version of us, I believe.
Yeah. Trying to learn and be the best person you can be. And sometimes you realise that person you thought was the best person you could be was just the beginning.
Absolutely.
I think that's where I'm at now. So funny. This is what I'll finish on, and then we can get some more from you. But when I really started this journey, I shared a clip that I clipped up and I tweeted. It was my first ever tweet. It was a Joe Rogan clip, and Joe Rogan retweeted it.
Woo-hoo.
And I was like, whew, how cool is this? Got so many views. So he retweeted it, and it was a conversation between him and Johan Hari, and they were talking about lost connections and what drives people to alcoholism and to, depression, and it was a lack of connection. But how do you get into those spots? And Joe Rogan talked about this process of, you're sold this idea of where we're meant to be in life and what we're meant to do, and you're meant to get a wife, and you're meant to get a kid, and you're meant to get the house, and you get the mortgage and the debts and the cars, and you get a career that you didn't really want, but it paid the bills to make sure you could pay off the debts that you got. And you get stuck in this thing where you're like, well, I wish I could have been an artist. I wish I could have done something more creative, and I can't do that anymore because I've got all these debts. And so now you have to go all the way back. You're 150 miles in the wrong direction, and you've got to go all the way back to zero just to start again. I feel like when I posted that, was at 150 miles in the wrong direction, and I'm finally today back at zero.
Wow.
That's how it feels.
Wow.
It feels like it's taken me all that time to get back to zero, and now is when I can start again. And
that's very exciting.
It came up in my memories like 2 days ago, so it was a trigger that had been shared and it was done. So I don't know. I think it's all quite serendipitous that it happens like that. I didn't know that's what I was sharing at the time. I just thought it was pretty cool that people can realize they could get trapped in that sort of environment, not realizing it was paralleling my life path.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you've demonstrated that really well.
So thank you, listeners, for being on this journey to zero. It's been lovely. And I will just address this. So obviously, Delby's not here. Delby's still part of the podcast, guys. He's just touring a lot. So he's still on like at least 50 to 60% of the episodes. So he's popping in and out. I'll do as many by myself as I can. And sometimes I'll chuck Cam McLaren or Squirrely on as a co-host. But yeah, everyone who's been on the journey to zero, fuck yeah. Thank you for being part of that. But before we finish, maybe gives a plug as to how people can reach you if they want to do some work with you, and then your book or anything you want to plug.
Fantastic. Okay, so I just wanted to speak to what you just said. So this is the 0 point field that you're in, and that is the point where all is created. So that's like the cosmic womb. That's the point of creation. So that's super exciting. So I don't know about you listeners, but I'm really excited to watch this next phase unfold, having witnessed the mammoth growth and evolution already.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been an honor for me to be on here again. It's been a while.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was an honor to work with you on Friday as well.
Yeah.
And if anyone is interested in working with me, I can put I'll get you to put the details below. We always run cacao ceremonies. I think you're better off just to follow me on the socials to get that.
At Mandi J. Nelson.
At Mandi J. Nelson, Mandi with an I. We have a retreat coming up in Peru next year, John and I.
Really?
Really?
You're running it?
Yes.
Oh. Like what time of year?
What time of year? We want to time it to be there for the 1st of August, because the 1st of August is a super powerful time in Peru, because it's all to do with the honouring of Pachamama, which so it'll be probably around the 1st to the 14th of August.
It's pushing.
Anyway, see what you can do.
I'm going to Oasis in Manchester.
When's that?
It's July 13th, so it's pushing being away from my daughter for that long.
You'll have to sit with it.
Yeah, okay. But sorry, carry on.
So lots of ceremonies over the beach for women over summer. If you are at the point that you are ready to commit to your spiritual growth and you want assistance to just feel balanced, you want someone to walk alongside you, I would be honoured to do that and plus you get access to a community of people that are walking the same path. So
one thing I've noticed is there's a community of people that you knew that I didn't know you knew.
Yeah.
And we're all connected. Cam Watkins, for example. And,
yes.
And crew. So
Boris.
It's Boris
Dave.
Walter. He's our number one listened to episode by a fucking velvet mile. Just so we're clear on that. But yeah, there's it's a very nice community we're building here over in Perth.
Absolutely.
And,
very heart-based.
Yes.
Non-judgmental. Compassionate. Kind.
But thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate that episode. And thank you for the work we did on Friday. Hopefully, if even just one person got something out of this, that's what we wanted, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Because they were ready to hear it. So
absolutely. It's been an honour and a privilege.
Thank you very much. All right, listeners, I've got a psychic medium on Wednesday, so that's going to be that'll be fun. I'm going to test them. So
I'm going to tune in.
Yeah, that should be fun. So, all right, hooroo.